You are listening to the Heartland Author Podcast. I am Aaron Apollo Camp. For today's episode, I had the opportunity to interview Neal Fisher. Neal is the author of A Unified Man, Building a Nation from Within, and despite the name of his book, there are things women can learn from his book. I'm here with Neal Fisher, that's spelled Nealfisher. He's from Australia, and he's the author of A Unified Man, Building a Nation from Within. Neal, welcome to the Heartland Author Podcast.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. Let's smash it.
Feel free to introduce yourself to our listeners.
Yeah, no worries, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Just basically my story is your story. We all have a path in life. You know, we're born, and then there's the path of discovery. And then we start to make things happen in our lives. And inevitably, anybody who makes anything happen in their life always has a downfall. I mean, that's the nature of the archetypal hero's journey. You set out into the world, and you become inflated, and then you get cut down, and then that's when the real work begins. That's when the real journey begins. You have to really look at yourself and actually discover yourself, because it's only through those challenges and tests where you're forced, instead of looking out the window, you're forced to look in the mirror. And that's what I had to do. You know, the divorce, bankruptcy, my health was shot, you know, and I was just crushed. My confidence was crushed, and it was all my fault because it was characters of the mind, and I just had to, immature character of the mind, and I had to really face that and persevere to dig my way out of that. And 10 years later, here I am. I made it. And this time I'm getting it right.
Without spoiling too much of your book, A Unified Man, Building a Nation from Within, and you kind of gave the backstory of it during your introduction, but what is your book about?
It's basically becoming powerful and wise. We're born pure. Human beings are born pure. You look at any child that's born, they're playful, they're naturally sharing, they're naturally fun, laughter. That's the baseline of humanity. Is We're supposed to be good natured, but it's the corruption of the civilization that basically turns us astray and poisons our dispositions. And what's the difference between a villain and a superhero? The only difference between them is their character. I mean, they're both ultra powerful. They both have the ability to exert massive will. It's their characters that separates them. The villain is a miserable prick, and the hero, he is just of sound. He wants to help people, including himself, because he looks within himself. And that's what the book's about. It's about achieving your highest highest form. It's really that, and you do that by actually, it's simple. It's not overcomplicated. You just have to do small, subtle things every single day. And because they're small and subtle, nobody does them because they're boring. So it's basically about looking at yourself and doing those small steps every single day and just being able to witness yourself as you're moving throughout the day. And you just automatically, and also to eliminating all your weaknesses, whether that's overeating, whether that's drug abuse, whether that's addiction, whether that's a lack of belief in self, because even that's not good. So it's basically just about becoming awesome, man, becoming powerful, becoming strong, and then empowering the people around you to do the same.
Although your book is called A Unified Man, is there anything women can learn from your book as well?
Oh, absolutely. It's an everyone book. It's written for women as well. But without strong men, everybody suffers. And also, if I called it A Unified Person, it doesn't have the same ring to it. I chose that title because it just sounds cool, And I wrote it for myself as a younger man, read, if somebody handed me that book when I was 12 years old, when I was 18 years old, when I was 22 years old, I could have saved 10 years of my life more, So yeah, it's for everybody. It's for adolescents, it's for women, it's for men, it's for everybody. I just wrote it in the tense to a past younger version of myself.
Now, when you talk about building a nation from within, what do you mean by that?
Well, I mean exactly this. It's taking the macrocosm and bringing it down to the microcosm. Every organization, every group of human beings, every structure on this planet is a reflection of an individual's makeup, an individual's disposition. So, if you look at your consciousness, your actual conscious experience point where every one of us experiences reality, it sits in the center of your skull, behind your frontal lobes, behind your mind, and it's about having that self-awareness and being able to view yourself objectively, being basically in control and being able to observe yourself and know when you're making mistakes and know when you're doing the right thing rather than being on autopilot. So that point of existence inside the center of your skull, that's like a nation. That's like the president. That's like the leader. That's like the incumbent. That everything trickles down from your own self-awareness. So that must be solid. That must be in control so that you can then affect your mind. Now, your mind is like the government. Your mind is like the people that help you get things done. It's the keys to power. It's the web of influence. It's all of the levers that make shit happen. And if you go to any group of people or any organization or a nation or a country, if everybody's squabbling, if everybody's yelling at each other, if nobody's cooperating, nothing ever gets done. I mean, look at any government meeting in a Senate or whatever, everyone's just going nuts at each other. Nothing's happening. But you look at a powerful country, not that, you look in the past, all of those countries sort of ended up having negative habits, but they were all aligned and they got shit done. So the mind is like that. The mind needs to be on board with what the consciousness truly wants. Now, once you get all that under control, then you can really actually start to affect the body. And the body is like the nation. The body is the population. It's the infrastructure. It's all the internal resources that you can depend upon. It's movability. Your body is the military. I'm no hard ass street fighter or anything, but I could at least throw a punch, or I'm at least fit enough to run away. Like, nobody would probably like to hear this, but violence is not the answer, but it's the final answer. Real violence isn't cool. There's nothing cool about it. All it leaves is pain for the people that perpetrate it and the victims. But violence or the threat of it is what stabilizes a civilization. It's what maintains order, raw brute strength. So we can only be lazy or complacent or be unfit or incapable is because it's been outsourced to the police and the military. So, you got to have a bit of fitness. You got to have something going for you. That needs to be covered. You need to be able to defend yourself or at least escape. So the body, that's how that aspect of the body works. Your internal population, it needs to be healthy. It needs to be nourished. And it also needs to be happy. That's how you can be productive. That's how you can get things done. That's how you can build things. All the infrastructure, again, that's your health. Your health is the infrastructure of your entire existence. If you've got an unhealthy body, it's you have no problems unless you have health problems. So it's about taking full command and control of your internal territory. That's why it's about building a nation from within. It's about being completely in control of your internal territory because that's the only thing that you ever have true ownership of in this reality is your body and your physical presence. Everything else is external. You can't own anything because the earth owns us. That's why you must build a nation from within because it's the only thing you truly have.
I find it quite fascinating that you're comparing the human brain and the human body to national governments because my parents always taught me to compare the human brain to like the CPU of a computer.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that's a bit inaccurate, because it's, a machine, or it's like we always compare the body to a car. Well, as you say, like a computer, the software and the hardware. It's we make comparisons to what we understand. I understand how all those other things work, and I understand that how we speak and how we use story and metaphor and the words we use are powerful. So if you view yourself as a nation, if you view yourself as a power, you will be more satisfied, convicted, and have more effort and feel more powerful in everything that you do. Because when you realize that's the only thing that matters, and you have a mindset that is completely aligned with reaching your highest strength, like you can't help but feel empowered. You can't help but feel positive. It becomes automatic when you use the right self-talk and use the right language. And it's also matter over mind. You know, when you look after your body, automatically your mind becomes is looked after, you know. It's easy to have a positive attitude when you've got a healthy body. So
Is your book, A Unified Man, is that self-published, traditionally published, or published via a hybrid press?
I don't know what any of those things mean, but I know this is that I've got a ebook version on my website that I give away free to everybody as long as they follow me on Instagram. And even if they don't, well, they can have it anyway. It's like I'm not real worried. It's just about getting it out there to just to help people because that's what happened to me in my life. But I'm also working with a I've got a meeting next week with another guy I did a podcast on. He owns a publishing company. So work with him to make like a print on demand published version. So I guess that answers your question. So that's
Oh,
coming
it's
soon as well.
self-published. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. That's all this. I've read a shitload of books, but when it comes to actually writing books and publishing, I don't know anything. And that's why I'm working with him because that's how you get ahead in life. That's the natural process of initiation is seeking others that already have done and know the things that you want to learn and that you want to be. So, you know, that's mentorship, initiation, leadership, role models. That's what it's all about. I mean, we live in a torn world because there's a lack of role models. We're torn between families, identities, directions in life, or what's even true. You know, I mean, look at the artificial nature of the internet today. I mean, all information is guilty until proven innocent. So
Do you plan on, or are you considering writing more books in the future?
yeah, I've actually got some updated. I've got to write a few bonus chapters for the book, and that's what I've been taking notes because everything since I wrote the book, I wrote it in just a month. It was something that was always in me, and I had notes all written down here and there for years. And I only intended to write a short document, like for me and like my cronies, my best mates, as like a system, you know, just to help them out. Like just here it is. Here's a system you can follow to regiment your life and to really organize your life and do something with your life. So I was like, yeah, 5 or 10 pages. But then as soon as I started writing, I just sat in a room for a month and it just poured out of me. It wrote itself. I didn't write it. It just came through me. It came through the conscious conduit of the universal source that we all come from because we're all a shard of the universal animating source. We're all the unique shard of that. Everybody's unique, but we're also very similar as well. And we all have access to that. You know, once you unify your mind and body and you're in alignment with your heart, and that's why we have higher intelligence and intuition and those internal compasses that we cannot deny. You know, that's why that exists is because there's something greater that animates us. So yes, there is more book to become, book to come, just like an expansion pack on the Unified Man book, because there's a couple of things in there that have shifted in my life, and everything's evolving. You know, it's an evolution, so it's building on top of what I wrote there, and just more clarity. You know.
Do you have a writing routine or process? And if so, what is that like?
Yeah, you just get up every day and just write something. You know, something, anything, or I as I'm going about my day, if I hear a quote or I like a real life quote, like somebody that I know or meet in real life says something to me, I will just jot it down on notepad in my smartphone. Or I see something cool, I view something, I will jot it down, or I'll take a picture of it, or it could be a thought that I have. I'll take a picture of the environment where I had that thought, and that will sort of capture it, the sensation of and the feeling that was there. Or just always recording your scriptures. Always have something. Could be a pen and pad. I mean, we all have our phones on us. Just collect things. Or if something comes to you, record it. That's my process. And when I was writing the book, that would be my process. And I still do that now, but particularly when I was writing the book, is I'd get up, I'd have my morning nutrients, I'd go to the gym, and then I'd come back and I'd jump straight into writing and do that first before I done any social media, before I did anything else. Like that was the most important thing was I would do that first because that was my mission was to write this book. And if you are writing, just do that first. I mean, get up, go for a walk, get up, go to the gym, get up, whatever it is. It's the first thing that you do when you're freshest. And I found a lot of resistance and avoidance trying before this because you'd be putting it off and then you'd be thinking about it too much rather than when you just jump in, it's like it's not even that hard. It's like if it's a cold day and someone sort of sprays you a little bit with a hose, I mean it's dreadful. It's like so discomfortable. Whereas if you just went and jumped in a cold lake straight away, like you feel refreshed and great. So that's the process. Get up, do something with your body, and just get stuck into it first. Whatever it is, even if it's crap, just start pulling it down. Just start blasting it out as you go. Every thought, even like a translation voice to text, that can be good as well because then you can really keep up with your thoughts as they're coming if you're in a good flow state. So just write. I mean, there's nothing magical about it. Know what you want to talk about, and as soon as you start doing it, it just eventually, like it happened to me, if you're really aligned with your deeper purpose and you're aligned with the force, it'll write itself.
What is your ultimate goal or your life's task? That's my final question for this interview.
Easy, mate. The life's task is building the nation and building the future. Now, what is the nation? You and I are the nation. Every single one of us are the nation. The nation must be built from the inside out. It can't be seen, it can't be tasted, it can't be touched. It can only be witnessed and felt with the mind and the consciousness. It's like it supernates the physical plane and like overlaps the surface of this planet. It's basically when they are collective consciousness, because it's given the quantum nature of this reality, like we're all creators, we're all the observer, like we've all been given the gift of the God hand, and the God hand is the ability to create. Everything else just is. Everything else is mostly purely form. Whereas us, we have the ability to birth creation. So we must build that from our insides out. That's what the nation is. I mean, we all have the same goals. Everybody wants to be healthy. Everybody wants to be wealthy. Everybody wants to have great relationships. Everybody wants to be spiritually enlightened. We all want the same thing, every single one of us. So if we all have that goal, but most of us don't work towards those goals. So when we become wise and powerful by looking after our bodies, um, being objective about our behavior and character, and also observant of those around us, and having a higher standard, and not accepting degenerative and destructive behavior, building a higher standard, we build a higher reality, we build a better world, and then we all autonomously, in our own way, will reach the same end product. The whole species will get to the same point. And that's what the future is. The future is a time that's different and better than now. And that's what it's all about because I did it within. And like, you can't buy that. You can't put a price or a tag on your own self development or your own personal development or your own enlightenment. It's priceless, and you can't explain it to someone else. Or you can describe it, but you can't transfer what other people what it's like to feel that way. It's indescribable to finally just conquer all of your shit, to finally get away from all the attachments, to finally reach that form. And it was all within. There was nothing without. Like my life looks no different now than what it ever did. I have less now than what I ever did, but I have more freedom. I have more mobility. I have less attachments. All I have is my body, my bag, and my bank account. That's it. And I've never been happier because as soon as you let go of everything, more you let go of, the more you can pick up. And now that I don't own anything, I have everything because again, you can't own anything. The earth owns us. So that's that's what the mission is for everybody to build their own nation from within. So then we collectively have a new standard of operation, a new standard of living. It's a new world. It all looks the same, but it feels a hell of a lot different.
Neal, I thank you for your interesting and thoughtful responses to my questions, and I thank you for appearing on the Heartland Author podcast.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure. I love doing it. Love meeting new people. Love discussing ideas. Love learning. Love just getting more powerful and more control every day. And that's the biggest positive when you have the ability to craft. That's what power is options, the ability to craft your reality. And like I said, that's the difference between the bad guy and the good guys is their character. And we're supposed to be powerful. We're supposed to be wise, and that's why we have pain. And that's why I had pain my whole life, is because I never I denied those aspects. I thought it was a bad thing. I thought like you should be humble and all this crap. But like that's just a lie told by the overlords so that you can just be dominated. But to all of your audience and all the people listening to this, just follow me on Instagram, at the.unified man, and send me a DM, free book, hi Neal, anything so you don't get lost in the chaos that is social media. And I'll send you the link to the book and it's yours free. Get amongst it.
I enjoyed interviewing Neal, and he was a wonderful guest. This is Aaron Apollo Camp reminding y'all to write your imagination. Bye for now. You can learn more about me and my book writing projects at campaaronapollo.wixsite.com/authoraac. You can follow me on Facebook at AuthorAAC and on Instagram at AACScribe. Copyright 2023, Aaron Apollo Camp, all rights reserved. This podcast episode is intended for the private listening of our audience. Any reuse or retransmission of this podcast episode without the express written consent of the podcast host is prohibited, except under fair use guidelines. Royalty-free music and sound effects obtained from https://www.zapsplat.com.